As job applicants, most of us are only aware of one side of the story in recruitment. But to be an effective communicator, we need to understand our audience, which is the recruiters, so we would know how to put our best foot forward. You might have noticed that even so many people remain unemployed, there are lots of recruiters out there complaining about how challenging it is to hire a right match. Like, there's no suitable candidates out there. The company's salary package is too low to hire great talent. Ultimately, it's not about the quantity of vacancies and job seekers available. It's about the right match of the job and the person. So what had happened before a job vacancy appears? Well, there could be a few possibilities. 1. An existing colleague resigned, so they need a replacement and hopefully a proper handover for tasks on hand. 2. An existing colleague was promoted and they need a helping hand so the promoted colleague can move on. 3. A newly created headcount to meet with new responsibilities. Or 4. The company is just doing research on the establishment of a new team in the near future. They will have new headcounts very soon, but at this moment they are not sure what they need yet. So internally, the workflow for recruitment can be simplified as shown here. When a job opening appears, the line manager of the requesting department will discuss with the human resources or external recruiters on the job requirements. HR would then publicize the opportunity. After receiving enough applications, HR will shortlist potential candidates and conduct the first interview. The purpose of HR's first round interview is to be a gatekeeper, that is, to identify if there are any red flags in the candidate like bad work ethics, disciplinary issues, cultural mismatch, etc., because firing someone is much more difficult than hiring. Further shortlisting will be done by elimination after this round of interview. If you have passed the HR round, then line manager will further meet with your candidate to see if they click with each other, because the line manager will normally be your future supervisor. The final decision will be made by the line manager, and they will inform HR so they can follow up with the candidates on the package negotiation and to prepare for their onboarding. Make sense? By now, you may be thinking, if it's possible, applicants should by all means skip the HR. I would say this is absolutely right. Just it's not that easy to skip the HR, especially for fresh graduates who just start their careers. Later in life, when you are more connected, skipping HR in the recruitment process is highly possible, and normally you can get an interview opportunity much easier through an existing network. Now, let's focus on what you can control. Your key focus in job interviews is to differentiate yourself from tons of applicants, meaning to get noticed and remembered by the interviewers, both the HR and the line manager. And during the interviews, make them associate you as part of their peers and to see you as their future colleagues and working partners. How to do this? Most job applicants, when they go to interviews, go from a self-absorbed attitude of, I've done this, this and that, so please give me the job. Don't do this. Instead, shift your mindset to how you can help the company. What values can you offer to the line managers to solve their problems and help your managers get what they want? By adopting this important mindset, in the eyes of interviewers, you offer more values and become their ally. And let's face it, interviews are not really about you. First, it's definitely not counseling. When I was a recruiter, I had so many candidates, especially younger ones, who told me unnecessary personal secrets or life tragedies because they thought I'm nice and I'm a good listener. Of course I'm nice, and many HR professionals are trained to be good listeners. But as I said, the role of HR is to be a gatekeeper. So if you offer information which could be potentially red flags to them, you're just making yourself a trap to fall into. So beware of treating the nice interviewer as a counselor. Moreover, you always want the interviewers to associate you with your positive qualities. So if you're telling me how you rise above your humble beginnings, meaning how you make things happen despite difficulties, instead of how things happen to you, then that is definitely a wonderful career story. More on that in a later episode on career storytelling. So, what is the interview really about? It's about what you can do for them. That's why you don't need to defend or sell your qualifications, that factual information you have already listed on your resume. They already know you are qualified, because if you weren't qualified, they won't be talking to you. What you do need to sell during an interview is the idea that you and your qualifications are a good fit for their culture and their needs. From the company's perspectives, they always want to minimize risk in the wrong hire. Therefore, they usually prefer experienced over inexperienced candidates. And training is very expensive, and ROI, return on investment, is important, so they would avoid potential job hoppers. For those companies that hire fresh graduates, they need new blood to join the company for succession planning, and they will choose young, trainable talents with high potentials. Make sense? Now let's take a look at what the top skills that companies are actually looking for. The World Economic Forum published a Future of Job reports in 2016, which shows the top 10 skills required in the 2020. The top 3 of the list, we have complex problem solving, critical thinking, and creativity, which are all mental skills. And the next 3 are people management, coordinating with others, and EQ. That are all interpersonal skills. So, the selection processes are designed to find out these skills accordingly. A typical selection process design could look like this. The first few steps are done behind the screen. You will submit your application online through the ATS, that is the application tracking system. And based on some preset criteria of basic requirements, it could be GPA or relevant internship experiences, the system will automatically eliminate a certain percent of applicants. For those who can move on, they will be invited for aptitude tests or written tests, as well as personality profiling. Aptitude tests are designed to evaluate essential mental skills like numerical and verbal logical understanding and written communications. And for personality profiling, usually it's not for screening purpose but serve as a guidance to interviewers on the cultural fit of this candidate. Next, for those who pass the aptitude test, will be invited for several rounds of in-person interviews, sometimes in assessment center format, where group activities and group tasks will be completed. The company also take the chance to promote their company values and culture as a kind of brand building. Final interviews can be one-on-one or panel interviews where several members of the management team meeting one candidate at the same time to make the final hiring decision. The whole selection process could take 2 months to half a year, depending on the number of the recruitment process in between. No matter how many recruitment processes it involves, there could be a high chance that your applications was turned down before it even meets the eyes of recruiters. That has to do with the evil application tracking system. Here's a screenshot of the Monsters Power Resume search page. I trust you have done lots of Google searches for yourself, and in recruitment, recruiters actually use the same logic in searching. That is, using keywords. Your resume is run through a parser, which removes the styling from the resume and breaks the text down into recognized words or phrases. Depending on the matches of selected criteria, it could be years of experiences, job titles, and skill keywords. Applicants are sorted by the system in a sequence of relevancy. Now, a sad fact is that the application tracking systems can reject up to 75% of candidates. It's actually like a resume black hole. Worse, many highly qualified candidates are rejected by ATS simply because they failed to write their resume for the resume screening software. Yet, companies continue to use these tracking programs despite the flaws because they make hiring easier on recruiters. Therefore, your goal in the application stage is to get past the robots and let your resume seen by human eyes. Now, here are some tips for you to get past the ATS. Complete the online application form as fully as you can. And anticipate what robot would search for by mirroring the words from the actual job description in your resume. Use acronyms and spell out the full form of titles, professional organization, and certifications. Dive deeper into your keywords that includes more advanced level skills and specific examples of techniques, like instead of phrases like communication skills, use influencing skills instead. And don't use graphics, logos, or tables in your resume if you apply through an ATS. In the next episode, we will discuss further on how to tailor your resume accordingly to the job you are applying for. I understand the whole job hunting process could take very long, and as time goes by, job seekers would get frustrated. Even still, I want you to remember that companies really want to hire someone soonest because the selection process is very time-consuming, stressful, and it distracts their attention away from what they are supposed to be doing at work. If they don't need extra manpower, they won't waste the time and energy in hiring. So, help them help you by bringing out your best in all your job search marketing portfolios, as well as in interviews. Remember, recruiters are paid to hire, not to reject. So please make their lives easier and help them help you.